congregation of Lynchburg. We are glad you're here. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. My name is Finis Southworth. I'm a member of the executive board and a member of this congregation for the last 14 years. If you are with us for the first time, we are glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in this service, for this congregation we love. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, please fill out the visitor card found on our website, uulynchburg.org, under Sunday services, or fill out the yellow card found on the back of the chair in front of you and place it in the offering basket during the offering. Please take note of announcements in the bulletin. If you're on Zoom, you can find them in the Friday e-news. Our young people are engaged in a project this week, but will be back with us next week. A group is planning to have lunch after social time and then see the Barbie movie. If you would like to participate, it's blank.
I know, sorry.
Join in. So anyway.
Just talk to me. We may not be able to do that.
Now I invite us to release our worries about the world and our own lives as we enter into the service by taking some slow, calming breaths.
May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. Oh, I spilled a little bit. It's a big flame this morning. Our opening words this morning were written by Maureen Killoran. In this free church, we come together without creed, focusing instead on the core values of justice, equity, and compassion, of mutual acceptance of our diverse ways of being as we seek to connect ourselves more fully with the unfolding truths of life and of our world. We come together in shared conviction that all people deserve a voice in matters that concern them, and that it's up to each of us to protect the rights of all, particularly those who, for whatever reason, have long been held in silence. We come together in the stubborn belief that community is possible and that peace is more than a dream. We commit together to affirm our actions as well as our words, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. We come together in awareness of our interdependence with all humanity and with the wider web of existence, for that too is part of what is meant by we. In this free church, we come together without creed, believing that the way we live in the world bears testament to the value of our beliefs. We light our chalice as a beacon of hope for those who have gathered here this day, for all who have ever walked through our doors, for those who may yet find this a spiritual home, and for those whose paths will never come our way. For all this, and for all those things we dare to hope and dream, we kindle our chalice flame this day. I invite us to rise in body or spirit as we share together hymn number 300 with heart and mind. We must have great energy today because it's a blowtorch up here. The light is strong in this Sunday. Each Sunday we take an offering of our gifts for the work of this community. We also realize that our congregation functions because the gifts of time and energy that so many people share with our congregation. So we accept your gifts that are generously given, and they are gratefully received.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
It is the tradition of our community to share together the joys and the concerns of our life, trusting that this community will honor today the whole of our lives. The joys, the concerns, the milestones, beginnings and letting go of old patterns of being that no longer serve us. We are aware of the wonder and mystery of life, and on this day also aware of the capacity for human cruelty and suffering. Our values teach us that we are to live love in the world, and that there is much that we can do to help create a more just, loving, and peaceful society. May we do the work, the inner work we need to do to discern that which is our work to do to transform the world. This we ask in the name of all that is sacred. Amen.
Today, we pause to reflect on Hiroshima Day, which changed our understanding of the use of power and state of vulnerability found within the human family. On the occasion of the Trinity test, Robert Oppenheimer quoted from the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu, who said to the prince to convince him to go to battle, adopted her multi-armed form and said, "I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." This is the quote that Oppenheimer said right after the Trinity test on July 16, 1945. In 2015, former UUA President William Sinkford wrote this prayer on the 70th anniversary of the dropping of the bomb. Today is the 78th anniversary. Like most traumatic scars, the ones that are found in Hiroshima and Nagasaki are permanent, reminders of the terrible damage human beings can inflict. Similar scars can be found in the hearts and souls of people around the world who understand this terror, scars of grief, sadness, fear, and even shame. None of these scars promise an end to war and devastation. Instead, they serve as a reminder of healing and renewal, of a return to life. Gracious God, Spirit of life and love, help us to see our scars, those we have created, those we are called to witness, and those we can soothe and heal. We are deeply grateful for the buds and blossoms, and even the most scarred offer as a revelation to the world. And especially on this 70th anniversary of Hiroshima Day, we renew our commitment to peace individually, collectively, and globally. To peace within, which calms our anxieties and fears, to peace between, which overcomes differences, animosities, and conflict, and to great peace beyond even our understanding. That is your gift, in which we attempt to be stewards of the world. Amen.
And next week, as y'all know, I will be at the Parliament of the World's Religions, where delegates from all over the world will explore how we develop a global ethic. So I look forward to bringing hopefully new wisdom back. So it was a couple of weeks ago that Finis reminded me that today is Hiroshima Day, remembrance. And like many of us, or maybe I'm the only one, I hadn't focused on it. I mean, I knew the date and I knew that it was coinciding with this Sunday, but it didn't hit me as I started exploring what this day means. And I began thinking that this is an appropriate service because as we think about the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, today we're talking about the influence of humanism and earth-centered religions on Unitarian Universalism. How humanity thinks about itself was greatly affected, I believe, by the dropping of the bomb on Hiroshima. What we are doing to damage our Mother Earth is also reflected in the dropping of that bomb. While these two final sources that we're exploring today seem at opposite ends of our Unitarian Universalist spectrum, they remind us of our interconnections within all of creation. So our sources this morning are humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. Spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. There's been a period in our recent Unitarian Universalist history when many people thought we UUs were solely humanist in our thinking. Yet the diversity of our sources remind us that for most of our Unitarian and Universalist histories, we were grounded in theism of one kind or another. I hope our exploration these past couple of Sundays has shown that our beliefs are much broader and deeper than the perspectives of only one thread of our faith, with humanism actually being the most recent thread woven into the tapestry of our faith. In the early 20th century, as Unitarian thought continued to evolve, theologians and secular people, including many Unitarians with our focus on science and reason, began to question the existence of a divine source. Certainly, the importance of science, reason, and evolution are key to how we UU see the world. Humanism affirmed a hope in the human possibility of creating an enlightened world where humanity would overcome the ills of society. As the influence of humanism grew in Unitarian Universalism as well as society, a humanist manifesto was created and published in 1933 as a response to religious belief systems in our country that espoused a higher power. Originally seen as the religious system of the future, humanism focused on a philosophy and belief system that wasn't static, but would evolve as science and human society evolved. Yet after the horrors of World War II, a second Humanist Manifesto was crafted in 1973 to update and replace the previous one. It began with a statement about the excesses of Nazism in World War II. And they realized that the original Humanist Manifesto was perhaps far too optimistic. Yet the second still affirmed an optimism in the human capacity for good, as well as a continued hope that war would become obsolete and poverty would be eliminated. If they could only see the world today. Many Unitarian Universalists in North America, including many people in our congregation, identify primarily or completely as humanist. In 2003, the third Humanist Manifesto was developed because the American Humanist Association saw humanism as an evolving philosophy where the limits of science and reason are recognized. Today, Unitarian Universalist humanists hold that the naturalism of their humanism encourages individuals to recognize the awe, beauty, and wonder of the natural world and recognize the interdependence between humans and other beings. In 2003, the manifesto that was written is deliberately much shorter and lists 6 primary themes of humanism. Knowledge of the world is derived by observation, experimentation, and rational analysis. Humans are an integral part of nature, the result of evolutionary change, and it's an unguided process. Ethical values are derived from human need and interest as tested by experience. Life's fulfillment emerges from individual participation in the service of humane ideals. Humans are social by nature and find meaning in relationships. And finally, working to benefit society maximizes human happiness. The thread of religious humanism in Unitarian Universalism urges us to continue to evolve in our thinking as science makes more and more discoveries. Humanism's evolution in the future, I believe, needs to confront the limitations of our ethical beliefs as technology and new discoveries outpace our ethical imaginations and decision-making. In addition, humanism presents Unitarian Universalism with the dilemma of how we address the challenge of evil in the world. In one congregation, we decided, we're UU, we need to deal with the concept of evil. For 4 years, that service kept getting canceled. I finally said, you know, we're really into avoidance here. It's clear that this is something Unitarian Universalism needs to deal with. The wording of the source on humanism is important because it warns us against the idolatries of the mind and spirit. The intellect can mislead us as easily as the spirit. This is a clear reminder that we must take care not to succumb either to rational manipulation or spiritual escapism. Our sources call us to be on guard when we are told that only one way of believing is the only way, be that humanism, theism, or nationalism. Hiroshima Remembrance is a powerful reminder that our ethics evolve too slowly. We must always examine the deeper challenges of the evolution of our world so that we speak and act from a place of justice, compassion, peace, and love. Our sixth source emphasizes the wisdom of the natural world. It says, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. Of all our sources, this one I find to be the most clear and direct. It reminds us of where our hope for the future of humanity and all living things needs to reside. The more our culture moves away from its connection to the earth, the more we are in desperate need of a source of belief that reminds us that if we disregard the welfare of Mother Earth and all creation, the more we are in danger of extinction. It is the earth-centered traditions that continually remind us that we cannot live if we're disconnected from creation. Since Europeans colonized this continent, we've oppressed and practiced genocide on the indigenous people of this continent. Yet those cultures and societies are the ones who can most fully teach us how to be part of the circle of life and how to live in harmony. Both our seventh principle, the interdependent web of existence, and our sixth source were actually added later in terms of our development. The sixth source wasn't added until 1995. These additions, I believe, mark a growth in Unitarian Universalist understanding that we cannot live with the rational alone. We must stay connected to creation and to one another. The sixth source invites us to draw from the spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. That's a foundation for healthy living. While the charge to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature is a challenging expectation, considering the ecological desecration all around us, humanity living in harmony with the natural world offers our only route to survival as a species. In many ways, I feel that our sixth source and seventh principle ground us in life. They acknowledge that without protecting nature, we are in a life mode of destruction. I've now said that 3 times, but maybe it'll sink in for all of us. Just think of all the natural disasters this past year, the ones that are still going on. We can all feel that climate change is accelerating. Without incorporating the wisdom of earth-centered spirituality into our own personal beliefs, we are out of touch with the deep wisdom of life. Climate change is forcing us to choose life over death. So, I've talked a little bit about these final 2 sources, and I'm wondering if y'all have some thoughts about whether one or both of these sources really resonate with you. How do they inspire you? Are they not of meaning to you? Any thoughts about these two sources? One of the things that I learned when I first became a Unitarian Universalist is we don't park our brains at the door. And so I think we're still at that place, but I think we are evolving into a more inclusive religious community. We're quiet today.
I can speak up, I guess, if nobody's going to speak up.
Go for it, Dick.
Well, I really relate to the idea of living in harmony with nature. We can see, the terrible things that are going on. The species that are being extinguished because of global warming and other human activities, and that ultimately we depend on the earth. If the earth does not survive, and we don't survive. If the oceans don't survive and there's no fish for people, a lot of people are not going to live. And what's shame is there are some political folks who say, "Oh, this global warming is just a political thing. It's not real." They're still saying it, and I just can't believe it. It blows my mind. That's my little piece.
Thank you, Dick. And it's really hard to know, other than recycling and a few other things, changing how we travel, other things, what can we do concretely? We've talked about all 6 sources. Sorry, David.
Yes, thank you. So I love your thing about not letting, intellectual stuff, rule over everything, because I see a lot of the homophobia and transphobia that we're seeing is rooted in, well, that's not, evolution says that everyone has to have sex. And I'm listening to a book that I've previously enjoyed a lot, and seeing that also come up, and it's kind of disturbing because evolution is a population level force. It's still, it doesn't rule each person's life because of natural variations and whatnot. And so, using that, saying is always right. Yeah, it might be right 85, 95% of the time, but still, even that has its limits.
Right, and certainly limiting population growth is one thing that would certainly help Mother Nature. Thank you. Milda.
Terry,
Yeah.
hi.
Hi.
So this was so wonderful and inspiring. And I invite us to look at a study of sacred geometry, because I think there's a lot of wisdom in the fact that we are all constructed, whether it's a leaf on a tree or a human being, according to the same principles of relationship, of ratio, the golden means. And that is a really powerful way to understand how we are connected to all things on earth, literally connected, not just as a belief. So that would be a wonderful study.
That's great. Thank you, Melda. Yeah, I remember taking botany, which was like the only science course that I could take that summer. And I was like, ugh, I was so in awe of the cellular structure of all the plants. It was just miraculous. Yeah. And it's certainly related to the golden mean and that sacred geometry that you're talking about. Dave, don't talk until you get the microphone so folks on there can hear your wisdom. Nope, doesn't matter. I do too.
Doesn't matter.
All I'm going to do is echo something I've already said. Everything we're enduring at this point in human history, let's just call it climate change, a long, regular, predictable cycle. There's not much we can do about it. Even if we slow it down, it still happens. But that being said, on a practical level, and what I said in here before, we've reached a point in human history we cannot afford to kill anything. Now, admittedly, in my own arrogance, if my roommate bubbles, if she gets parasites, fleas, ticks, yeah, I whack them. You know, tomato hornworms, squash bugs, yeah, I gotta whack them. But the point is, over and above what we all know is going on in the ocean life, which is disappearing at meteoric speed. On land, half our insects are gone, our amphibians, we can't afford to kill anything. A real big one, you got a snake in your yard, don't kill it. I'm the snake guy in my neighborhood. My neighbors call me when they get snakes. I go catch them and relocate them. Same thing with groundhogs that eat all our gardens. We box trap them and relocate them. The real big say what? Did I relocate animals? It may be breaking the law, but quite frankly, at this point in human history, I could care less about what Big Brother says I can do or not do. I think you understand what I'm saying, but just don't kill anything. You know, I grow food. I got to take care of my crops. I have to eat. Bubbles has to eat. But just live and let live. The big one, leave the insects alone. Thank you.
You know, one of the things that we've talked about, oh, go for it, Larry.
Having a hard time not saying something, but human beings, from the time they were able to evolve into this world, began just kind of living with nature. As time went on, they became a little smarter, quote unquote, and thought it was okay to dominate nature. So for the last couple of centuries, that's what's been happening. We've developed energy sources and so on from nature that have enabled human beings to dominate the world. And we're now saying what a terrible price we're paying for that. And I think this is a concern I have about humanism. I think humanism kind of led to that support of that concept. That I think you have to give nature more credit, because nature is going to win in the end. If we don't learn to to live with it and use the bounty that nature provides, then we're cooked. As a species, we're gone.
Literally, we're cooked, yes. Molly? Oh, Betty, were you gonna say something?
This is a bit of humor to lighten this talk. I go along thinking I'm on top of the food chain, and then I go outside. I will show you the scars on my arms from the black flies. Because they take out triangular chunks, it's hard not to want to kill one of those, Dave, so I reserve the right to spot it.
I find, this is Molly McLennan. I think one of our problems is not really knowing or recognizing or understanding our out more and more animals that we, in particular intelligence, have animal groups and families and communicate with each other. I read a wonderful little book, Fox and I, that is really about that, the relationship of one biologist who knows that it's not appropriate to give human traits to animals and a relationship to a fox who does have a relationship with her. And another prong of that is a program I watched on TV about dogs and how dogs evolved from wolves. And maybe our whole concept of evolution of the fittest is not appropriate. Maybe it's not the fittest, but the friendliest is even the human groups who cooperate and make friends have a better chance of survival over the groups that are just the strongest. So I find it all kind of confusing and exciting.
So I have a question. We've talked about these 6 sources. And a few years ago, when I had to write, I had to do a packet to apply to come to be your minister. One of the questions was, what is your theology? Where's your theology grounded? And I realized that I have threads from every one of our sources, rather than being one or another or just 2. And I'm wondering if, thinking about these sources over the last 3 weeks, have you found that you're more interested in a new thread of faith, or feel more committed to your own perspective?
Anyway, I'd like to say something about the
Oh.
evolution bit. Because evolution of because it is survival of the fittest. And a lot of people have noted the fittest is the strongest, it's the fastest, it's the blah blah blah. No, fitness changes from situation to situation. In the terms of the dog, the fittest dogs to survive were the friendliest dogs.
Right.
So the friendliest dogs found the food and whatnot. And in other situations, that might not have been fitness was able to kill enough to feed themselves and live. And so fitness,
David, you're going in and out again. Oh, can't he? I think the whole concept of resilience is wonderful. Joan.
So this is the first of the sources sermons that I've actually made it to, but I really enjoy it. I feel like it awakens me a little bit more, and also I think about the conversation we had in the car and right outside on the bench talking to Beth about where she's at in her religious search and how important it is to me to have a community where I can pull from the different sources. So this morning definitely was thinking a lot about the earth-based and feeling out of balance with things, and that one definitely helps me.
Well, my friends, I picked a perfect earth-centered closing hymn. So I invite us to rise in body or spirit as we share hymn 207. Earth was given as a garden.
Bless the earth and all
We extinguish our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Our final blessing comes from Kathleen McTeague. May the light around us guide our footsteps and hold us fast to the best and most righteous that we seek. May the darkness around us nurture our dreams and give us rest so that we may give ourselves to the work of the world. Let us seek to remember the wholeness of our lives, the weaving of light and shadow in this great and astonishing dance in which we move. Blessed be. Go in peace. And next week we have our children and Emily back in person.